Hello and welcome to Philosophy Vibe, the channel where we discuss and debate different philosophical ideas. Today we're going to focus on the works of one of the great ancient Greek philosophers, Aristotle, and his ethical theory. Fantastic! In his book Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle is seen as the pioneer of virtue ethics. Now, virtue ethics is very unique as its own ethical theory. Where consequentialist ethics focuses on outcome of any situation and judges right and wrong based on this, and deontological ethics focuses on duty and adhering to strict moral laws, virtue ethics does not focus on how we should behave. It does not provide rules and laws, but rather it focuses on the character of the person. It is about developing into a virtuous person and living a moral life. It is not about what should I do, but rather what sort of person should I be? I see. First, we need to understand a bit more about Aristotle's theory of causation. Aristotle believed everything in reality was working towards a delos. This was an end or a purpose. Everything had a delos, and something was judged as good or bad based on how well it fulfilled its purpose. So, let's take a seed. The delos of a seed is to grow into a beautiful flower. Once it has grown into a flower, it has reached its delos. This is also the case with inanimate objects. If we take a knife, the delos of a knife is to cut. If a knife is able to cut when a human wants it to, then it has reached its delos and it's fulfilling its purpose. If it cannot cut, then it's not fulfilling its purpose and it is a bad knife. Yes, I understand. Now, human beings are exactly the same. We also have a delos, we have a purpose, and this is the same purpose for each and every human. What's that? Aristotle referred to the concept of eudaimonia. This is a type of happiness, pure happiness or bliss, the ultimate goal for being alive, full satisfaction, our fulfillment. Right. Everything we do is to strive towards eudaimonia. Everything we desire is because we believe it will make us happy and bring us closer to eudaimonia, even if we don't know it. If you ask someone, why are you going to work? They may say to earn money. If you ask them, but why do you want to earn money? They may say to pay their rent or to buy clothes or to buy food. But then if you ask them, why do you want this? They will say ultimately it is to have a better quality of life and be happy. You can ask someone, why are you going on a date? They may say to find love. You can ask, but why do you want to find love? They may say to get married or to start a family. And why do you want this? Because ultimately it will make you happy. Yes, I get it. Now, in order for us to fulfill our purpose of eudaimonia, Aristotle believed we must live a virtuous life. This is vital to the delos of a human being. So, what is a virtue? Ultimately, it is a character trait that makes us better people. Just like the ability to cut makes a knife a good knife, or comfort makes a bed a good bed, virtue makes a human a good human. It is a moral trait we need to be happy. We must always work to becoming better people and to develop a virtuous character. And so this is where virtue ethics came from, an ethical theory that is about the character of the individual. Virtue ethics is centered around how should I be, how should I live, and how can I improve? Okay, but do we not need an understanding of what it means to be virtuous in order to live a virtuous life? How can I live a virtuous life if I don't know what it means or how to act? Aristotle did give an account on how we can recognize virtuous behavior and how we can work towards becoming virtuous people. Firstly, Aristotle noticed 11 moral virtues that all humans recognize and value as character traits. They were courage, temperance, liberality, magnificence, magnanimity, proper ambition, truthfulness, wittiness, friendliness, modesty, and righteous indignation. These were 11 character traits that were admired in people and something we should all practice. Interesting. However, as we know, life is complicated. We are always in situations where the moral thing to do is not clear-cut. And so, building on the 11 moral virtues, Aristotle developed the concept known as phronesis. This can be translated to practical wisdom. Aristotle believed that virtuous people should have the ability to make informed rational decisions on what the best way to act is. Aristotle claimed that practical wisdom is a true and reasoned state of capacity to act with regard to the things that are good or bad for man. So, it is not just having an understanding of virtuous character traits, such as modesty or courage, but it is knowing how to act upon this understanding and implement these character traits when necessary. I see. Central to practical wisdom was understanding and acting upon what Aristotle referred to as the doctrine of mean. What's that? The doctrine of mean, also known as the golden mean, is an understanding that a virtue lies between two vices. Once we have the knowledge of this, we are in a better position to act in a virtuous way. What does that mean exactly? Aristotle claimed that any extreme is a vice. The virtue will lie in between these two extremes. So let's take the moral virtue of courage. This is a virtue that sits in the middle of two extremes. On one extreme is the vice. We can say it is the deficiency of the virtue. So a deficiency of courage would be cowardice. So cowardice is the vice. On the other extreme is the other vice. We can say this is the excess of virtue. So the excess of courage would be recklessness or foolhardiness. So the virtue of courage lies in the middle of the two vices. Ah, yes, I understand. So using our practical wisdom, we can assess the situation, and with the golden mean, we can determine the virtuous action. So let's focus on courage. Imagine you are an ancient Greek soldier defending the city walls from the enemy. You are guarding alone, and you see 20 enemy soldiers approaching the gate. Now, what do you do? If you run out and face the enemy alone, this would be reckless, and this would be a vice. You are outnumbered, and you will certainly be defeated. However, grabbing your things and running away quietly would be cowardice, another vice. Courage would be to inform the other guards, and if enough men heed your call, you stand and fight and defend your city walls. Agreed. Or we can take ambition, another of Aristotle's moral virtues. To work 20 hours a day and never see your friends or family and neglect everything for your career is seen as a vice. But to never work, to be completely lazy, is also a vice. Ambition lies in the middle, the golden mean. Right. Or how about generosity? Giving all of your money and possessions to charity and leaving you homeless would be foolish. But stinginess, whereby you never give to charity or buy anyone a gift, is also not a desirable trait. We must use our practical wisdom to know when to be generous and when not to be, to understand what we can afford and to who we can be generous to. Yes, that makes sense. And finally, Aristotle claimed that in addition to following our practical wisdom and the golden mean, we must learn from other virtuous people. We must study them and try to emulate them. We must also practice being virtuous. It is not something you instantly pick up. You need to work at it every day, and eventually it will become part of your nature. Very interesting. So there we have Aristotelian ethics. It's a core focus on virtue ethics, developing our character traits to becoming virtuous people. By using our practical wisdom, the golden mean, learning from other virtuous people and practicing, we ourselves will become virtuous. We will become better people and we will be closer to reaching eudaimonia. Fascinating theory, definitely a wise approach to ethics, as it is all about developing one's character. It is almost like a spiritual approach to morality. But I can't help but notice certain issues with this theory. Really? Like what? Firstly, virtue ethics as a theory doesn't really tell us what to do. It doesn't give us specific rules to follow like deontological ethics, or specific outcomes to strive for like consequentialist ethics. It leaves it too vague for an ethical theory, and it doesn't really give us much of a framework for how to act. Yes, but this is because virtue ethics is not intended to tell you how to act in a specific situation, or how to make decisions. It does not intend to give you rules and regulations and desired outcomes. It is a way to live across your whole life. It is about developing as a virtuous person, and as a virtuous person you will make virtuous choices and strive for the best outcomes. But it is heavily reliant on the doctrine of mean, or the golden mean. Now, is the golden mean really the best method for decision making? By and large, I would agree that a virtue does lie between two vices, But what if we look at, let's say, adultery? Should we say complete faithfulness is a vice, but a lot of adultery is also a vice? So some adultery, a moderate amount, becomes a virtue. This seems a bit strange. Well, no, Aristotle would not have agreed with this, and in fact he argued that there were certain things that were always vices in any amount. So we cannot, for example, say some stealing is a virtue or some cheating is a virtue. These things are always a vice, no matter what. Okay, but still, the golden mean is definitely not easy to implement. It is not always evident what the middle between the two vices is, and this can get very complicated when trying to decide how to act. Determining this middle ground can then become quite subjective. Is it courageous to drive very fast to be on time for a meeting? Is it courageous to fight off 2 home intruders? Answers to these questions will most likely change from person to person. I think the biggest problem, however, is the metaethical issue. What do you mean? Aristotle names the 11 moral virtues we should have as character traits, but why are things like courage, generosity and truthfulness, why are they virtues? Why should these character traits be considered as part of the virtuous character? Let us suppose we are speaking to a moral skeptic. How can we explain why Aristotle's 11 moral virtues are in fact moral virtues, and why they would help create a happy life? What if the moral skeptic does not see any value in courage? How can virtue ethics demonstrate why courage should be considered a virtue? Aristotle does not really provide any solid grounding as to why these are virtues. He does not really go into any detail on what exactly a virtue is and how it would lead one to eudaimonia. Yes, I see. And finally, I would like to ask if we could in fact view virtue ethics as a type of consequentialist theory, as there is a desired outcome to strive for, and that is for one to reach eudaimonia. However, the theory is solely concerned with you as an individual becoming a virtuous person and reaching eudaimonia. This then becomes quite a selfish approach to ethics. It is not about doing your duty like Kantian ethics, or for the sake of love like situation ethics, or to maximize pleasure like utilitarianism. This is only for the good of you, reaching your happiness and reaching your eudaimonia. To be a virtuous person really means to be a selfish person. Good point. If you found this video useful, you might be interested to know that this script and many others are officially available to purchase on Amazon as part of our ebook selection. This script will come as part of our ethics ebook, and we'll put a link in the description. If you're studying philosophy, you will most likely find it helpful to have these scripts to read over, and also your purchase will be helping out this channel. We will really appreciate it, and it allows us to continue to bring you this content. Indeed. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed the vibe. And what do you all think? Do you think Aristotle's virtue ethics is the best way to approach morality? Will following this ethical theory make you a virtuous person and help you reach your true happiness? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and share, and for more philosophical debates, please subscribe to our channel and immerse yourself in the wonderful world of philosophy. Take care, and we'll be back soon with some more debates. Bye bye.